Hey guys, Wade Willis here for my playthrough of Umineko. I'm in chapter 2 and this is like my 7th part of this. Stuff is getting real crazy now. Beatrice made her first move in the last episode I did and she's just going out swinging. Like walked right through the front door, has already shown herself to everyone. It seems like perhaps her powers are even stronger than the last loop. So that could be very bad for the people in this loop right here. A big group of the family has actually already seen Beatrice with their eyes, so this is going to change the whole dynamic where like people are not accepting that she's even there, and that makes things very hard for Battler, who's trying to say that she isn't a witch or that a witch didn't do these things. So yeah guys, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel, and yeah, let's get into it.
そんな人間には一度も会ったことはないぜ。兄貴は。
会ったことなんてないわ。キリエさん、本当なの？
Oh, they're talking about Beatrice.
私もちょっと玄関ホールに出た時に挨拶をしただけです。20歳ちょっとくらいに見えたわ。私は名乗ったんだけど、彼女は名乗らなかった。源氏さんに案内されて2階へ登っていくのを見たの。
なら源氏さんを見つけて直接話を聞いた方が早いやろ。しかし妙な雲行きになってきよったな。
Mystery woman had spoken to Kyrie. Without naming her herself, she'd sneered that Kyrie should have had a vague idea as to her identity. That brought someone to mind. And then there was her look-alike, the witch in the portrait.
そいつは自分が肖像画の魔女様だとそう言いたいってのかよ。
私はそういう意味で笑ったんだろうと理解したわ。私とは初対面でも、私があなたの5歳だと知っているような口ぶりだった。
姉貴、本当にそんな奴は知らないんだな。
くどいわよ。そんな金髪女、この屋敷に出入りしたところなんて見たこともない。
そんなようなことはどうでもええで。問題はその女が自分はベアトリーチェだと名乗り、お父さんの財産管理人を名乗った場合の方や。
あるいは愛人の娘を自称して遺産の分配を要求するつもりかしら。いずれにせよとんでもないジョーカーが紛れ込んだものね。兄さんが呼んだの？それともお父様が？
まずいな。俺たちは兄貴をうまく言いくるめりゃなんとかできるものと思ってきた。
Yeah, the plot thickens, huh?
話が。
Oops, sorry guys.
あなたが私の知らないところでどんな策謀を巡らしてたのか知らないけれど、
Yeah.
どうも少しは対策を立てる時間を得られたみたいね。
Good luck with that.
その金髪姉ちゃんが晩飯の席で突然現れて俺らの度肝を抜くのに比べたら。
How much you guys want to bet this plan's stupid as hell?
今からわずかの時間でも対策を協議できる方がマシだ。
何しに現れたか分からへん以上、撃てる対策も限られとるで。向こうの狙いは何なんや。
決まってるでしょ。お父様の遺産の正当な後継者だと言い張るためよ。お父様は未だにベアトリーチェの虜なのよ。その娘がいたなら全財産を譲りたいと言い出すはずだわ。妙な遺言状でも突きつけてくるかもしれない。そりゃ裁判沙汰にすれば半分の4分の1は主張できるかもしれないけど、多分決着するまで遺産分割はできなくなるわよ。それは困る。
I'll tell you what, the money is the least of your worries right now.
私もルドルフももちろんローザもね。
俺たちはそれぞれの都合で早急にまとまった金がいる。俺たち最大のウィークポイントってわけだ。なら 狙いは何だ。
I would say their stupidity is probably the weakest point, but
読めるか。
初耳なんだけれど、私たちには急ぎまとまったお金が必要だという前提があるのね。
imagine being this dude's wife and finding out he needs money super bad. I'd be so pissed.
キリエさん、男の商売には攻めの時にこそ軍資金が入りようになることもあるんや。それを分かってえな。
Oh, yeah. Okay.
なーにルドルフ、キリエさんには話してなかったの？
すまん、隠してたわけじゃないんだ。実はちょいとした。
いいわ。あなたが私に話す必要がないと判断した話なんだから、それをこの場では追求しない。それより急務は黄金の魔女様の狙いを探ることなんでしょ？
ああ、俺たちの話を整理した上で敵の撃ってくる手が見えるか。
She didn't bring up flipping the chessboard around. Rudolph had made a certain measure of trust in Cartier's unique thinking technique, chessboard thinking. Oh, I freaking called it right before. Of course, it didn't give him any more peace of mind than fortune telling. But every time Rudolph was polishing up some important strategy, he gave a great deal of thought to Cartier's advice. For a while, Cartier pressed her finger against her forehead, considering it.
今日の今日まで彼女が訪れることが伏せられていた以上、彼女は私たちに何らかのサプライズを与える目的があった。それが財産なのか、親族としての認知なのかは分かりかねるわ。でも今日の今日まで訪れることを伏せていたということは、事前に知らせることで対応を打たれたくなかったと言えるかもしれない。ということは、彼女の目的は対応を打たれると不利になるものらしい。わかる？
なるほどな。例えば親父が以前に書かせた遺言状そのものだとか、血縁の認知とそれを証明できるものだとか。
Dude, she's so strong she could probably change her blood and
盤石な証拠だと言うなら
genome if she wanted to.
予告するはずだろうよ。
そうね。むしろ疑う立場にある私たちに弁護士でも鑑定士でも連れてこさせて、グーの音も出ないくらいに事実を突きつけるべきなのよ。それができるならね。
つまり奇襲狙いという時点で敵は真正面からの正攻法では勝てんちゅうことを意味するわけやな。道理や。絶対勝てる切り札は堂々と切るに限るで。回りくどい切り方はむしろ切り札を曇らせるもんや。
結論から言うと、皆さんがご就寝の遺産問題に直接もしくは間接的に絡む相当のサプライズが突きつけられると予想されるわね。おそらく向こうはそのインパクトだけでこちらを圧倒できるつもりでいる。しかしその何かは相当のインパクトを伴いながらも絶対ではない。
つまりそこがこちらのつけ込む余地というわけね。
あんたはほんま頭の切れるお人や。
Brains and gazongas.
これだけでも分かればだいぶ心強いで。つまり相手のペースに飲み込まれるなっちゅうことやな。
結局のところ非常にシンプルな結論よ。相手が何を切り出そうとも焦らず冷静に対応する。交渉術の初歩の初歩じゃない。これじゃあ相手の思考を読めたとはとても言えないわ。
I can't wait to learn what like her background is, because she's by far the smartest out of any of the older people.
いいや、相変わらずなかなかのもんだぜ。こちらに攻める余地があると分かれば余裕も変わってくるってもんだ。
わからないのは彼女とクラウス兄さんの関係ね。クラウス兄さんにとってもサプライズなのか、 それとも彼女を呼んだのは他でもないクラウス兄さん自身なのか。もし後者だったなら、随分と厄介なことになるかもしれないわよ。
そうね。謎の女を親族会議の当日にこっそり呼びつける。いやらしいセンスがどことなく兄さんっぽい感じもする。
兄貴、こうしよう。
He only talks about this chick all the
女の正
time.
体がはっきりと証明できない限り、俺らはその女のいかなる身分も認めない。
Oh, she'll prove it.
それが最善ね。現に桐江さんに対して名乗ってすらいない。正体不明の女の発言で私たちの会議がかき回されちゃたまらないわ。
血縁証明でも示してみせるかもしれんで。お父さんの血が流れてることが、例えば母子手帳でも示されたらどうにもならん。
証明物なんかいくらでも偽装を疑える。仮にそれが本物だったとしても、当人が本人だと証明するには病院沙汰にしなきゃならん。少なくとも今の六軒島でそれを証明することは不可能だ。
その通りね。つまりこういうことよ。今の六軒島では何が示されても真実だと受け入れることはできない。台風が去って、叱るべき場所で証明してみせるまで、何も。
Just when you're locked in here with her.
そういうので上げ足を取りまくるのは姉貴の得意技だな。任せるぜ。
バカ言ってんじゃないわよ。あんたも協力するのよ。私たちにはお金がいる。それも急ぎまとまった額が。私たちは運命共同体よ。こんなところでひょっこり現れた謎の女に遺産の当てをぶち壊されてたまるもんですか。
Dude, they are vultures. Rudolph and Ava always formed a united front as siblings at times like this. Sickened by the idea that their own inheritance might be snatched away by an outsider, Kyrie noticed how indomitable they looked, shook her head slightly, and gave a small sigh as she gazed out the window. Outside, it was still raining heavily, and everything was gray, having lost all vibrance. The lush garden that the sun had shone on earlier now felt like a lie. For some reason, the words Ava said a second ago kept repeating in Kyrie's head. So in other words, it's something like this. No matter what's shown to us on Rokunjima, it can't be accepted as the truth. There was an odd nuance to those words. At that moment, the island was closed off by the typhoon and isolated. They had access to no public institutions and no hospital. So on this island, no matter what manner of proof related to the outside world was shown, it would always be possible to call it a lie. It would be impossible to prove that something was the truth. Now that they were isolated from the outside, all truths that whose proof lay in the outside world would be called lies. So does that mean that right now on this Rokunjima, no truth exists at all? Does it mean that everything now will be ruled by lies alone? It almost gives the illusion that we've left the human world of truth, and we've been shut away inside another world, one of lies. That's a cool way to look at it. Kyrie remembered the woman's appearance one more time. She remembered both what she looked like and the witch on the portrait. On this island, which had been cut off from the world, the humans shut away from the world of non-humans, a non-human being has come to visit. Kyrie couldn't think of the smile that appeared on that woman's face as anything other than portent of misfortune. I get the feeling my chessboard thinkings missed a vital premise, one that it'll be necessary to understand that misfortune-bearing smile. Yes. That smile made me feel as though someone inhuman was mocking me. I base my reasoning on the assumption that our opponent is a human like us. However, just like this island is now, she may be a being that isn't human, and human values may not matter to her. She's so smart, Kyrie. If that's true, all of our reasoning is useless. For what reason has the witch been invited here today? Only one thing is certain. Now in this instant, she's straying somewhere in this vast mansion.
Maria.
今日のお昼に、お外で、私たち、会ったわよね。女の人に。あれは、誰？
おー、何度も言ってる。ベアトリーチェ。
マリアは、以前にベアトリーチェと会ったことがあるの？
おう、毎年会ってる。
毎年？この、六軒島のお屋敷で？
おう。
じゃわからないでしょ。そうなの？いつから会ってるの？何年前から？
おー、わかんない。
わからない？どうして？去年？一昨年？
もっと前から。
Oh man.
おー。
Rosa was astonished. Only the Ushiromiya family mansion existed on this island, so there couldn't have been any humans other than themselves here. And yet, Maria said she'd been meeting with a suspicious woman every year during the family conference. If what Maria said was the truth, then this strange woman called Beatrice had been at the family conference every year. That's insane. Is Maria saying that eerie woman was at the family conference every year and none of us ever noticed it? Even though Rosa had just met the woman herself a couple hours ago in the rose garden, she was overcome with a strange emotion that told her not to accept that existence. What in the world did I meet with earlier today in the rose garden as a typhoon grew near and the winds roared?
マリア、あなたは毎年彼女と会ってると言ったわね。会って何をしてるの？
Tea party?
おう。お歌を歌ったり、魔法を習ったり、魔法陣の書き方も習うの。
そう。それはすごいわね。マリアがよく自由帳に落書き、じゃない、魔法陣を書いたりしてるわよね。それも彼女に教えてもらったの？
はい。ベアトリーチェにね、お手本書いてもらうの。ほらほら、見て見て。
Maria joyfully fished around her handbag. Then she drew out a single notebook and began opening to that page. Most of the pages were covered with drawings that were literally scribbles. All of them were occult-like things, and while it might sound rude to Maria, who was joyfully flipping through the pages, they were all creepy.
ほらこれ、ベアトリーチェが書いてくれた。
Ooh. Each one of the pages of the group Maria opened had an eerie magic circle. Furthermore, at a glance, Rosa could see that Maria hadn't drawn them. The strength of the strokes and the thickness of the lines and how clean the shape was. By itself, it wasn't enough to guess the background of the person who had written it, but it was enough for Rosa to be sure that that person was older than Maria. Rosa had to accept it now. There really was a person on Rokunjima that she herself had not known existed until now, and this person had come to the family conference every year to play with Maria.
マリア、その魔女のベアトリーチェはここに住んでいるの？それとも私たちのように島の外に住んでいるの？
おう。ベアトリーチェは六軒島の魔女だからこの島に住んでる。
じゃあ親族会議のない日にもこの島にいるというのね。
おう。
じゃわからないでしょ。
Oh, girl's about to go nuts again.
うん。
What in the... I can't believe it! I can't believe it! How long has this unknown witch been living on this island? Hundreds of years. I used to live on this island. Passing time in the mansion in the rose garden. And even so, I never encountered a witch like that. Right?
Mama?
Uh-oh.
どうしたの?
Your mom's gone, yo.
頭が痛い。
I was probably getting a little mixed up with my memories from when I was a young girl. When I was young, I was terrified of the witch, unlike Maria. So for me, the name Beatrice was a synonym for terror. Surely my fear from those days hadn't been revived by the appearance of the woman going by that name. She can't be a witch. She's obviously a human calling herself Beatrice, right? That's right. The witch entrusted me with an envelope. What in the world could that be? Rosa pulled out that western envelope out of her pocket. It was one of the envelopes that bore the Ushiromiya family crest which Kinzo used for his personal letters, and its red sealing wax had been sealed by the head's ring which Kinzo held. Which meant this envelope belonged to the Ushiromiya family head. In other words, it was from father. Why would a woman calling herself Beatrice holding it, and why would she give it to me? That's right. I'm sure she had read this aloud at dinner. Said to read this aloud at dinner. What in the world could be written inside? A sense of uncertainty gripped Rosa, as if opening this envelope might let loose an incredible misfortune. However, at the same time, a little curiosity sprouted up too, urging her to find out what was written inside this letter before the other siblings could. Using common sense, one might guess that it contained a huge decision somehow related to father's inheritance. Actually, since she had received it from a woman who called herself Beatrice, there simply had to be some connection. Does it mean that this person wants not just the 4, but a total of 5 people to be included in the inheritance? I need a large sum of money, and I can't wait long. I feel like such a sinful daughter for discussing father's inheritance while he's still alive, but this is no time to spout off cheap ideals. And I've even colluded with Rudolph and Ava in order to get some money out of Kraus. Coming from that position, I can't help but see the appearance of the witch as a sign of approaching misfortune. What could be written in here? I'm sure it's something frightening. Shall I read it secretly myself first? The witch requested that it be read at the dinner table with everyone gathered. But if that's what she wanted, why couldn't she just read it aloud herself at dinner? Why did she go to all the trouble of entrusting it to me? Simply put, is it because she didn't mind if I read it secretly beforehand? It'd be better to secretly read the contents first. I understand that it'd mean I'm breaking my promise, but this is no longer time for cheap ideals. Depending on the contents, I should probably discuss it with Ava and Rudolph too. They're always really good thinkers when it comes to that kind of thinking. When I gulped and put my hand on the red sealing wax, something suddenly pulled on my sleeve and I let out a small scream.
何？マリアなの。驚かせないで。何？
ダメ。
In Maria's expression was the same portent of misfortune that she felt from the witch, and it sent a tingle up her spine.
ベアトリーチェはママに、その手紙は晩餐で読みなさいって言った。魔女の約束は破っちゃダメだよ。
Probably not a good idea.
違うわよ。
Mm-hmm.
ちょっと封筒を見ただけじゃない。
Yeah, liar.
約束は守るわよ。ママもいつもマリアに約束は守りなさいって言ってるもんね。ママももちろん約束は守るわよ。
ママはいい子。
その笑い方可愛くないからやめなさい。そういえばマリアも封筒をもらったわよね。中には何て書いてあったの？
開けてない。 ベアトリーチェは開ける時が来るまで開けちゃダメって言った。だから大事に持ってる。うん。
そうマリアはベアトリーチェの言うことはちゃんと聞くのね。
うん。マリアはベアトリーチェの弟子だからお師匠の言うことはちゃんと聞くの。
そう
Rosa realized something. Mixed in with Maria's glaze was a glint of someone that wasn't her. If Rosa broke the rules and opened the envelope here, Beatrice would definitely learn of it. Because Maria was the witch's disciple, Maria was in contact with that witch.
ママは約束を守るわ。だから安心するようベアトリーチェに言ってね。
伝える。
ねえマリア、ベアトリーチェとお話をしたいんだけど、どうすれば会えるのかしら。
知らない。ベアトリーチェはとても気まぐれだから、いつも突然姿を現すの。マリアからは会う方法を知らない。でもね、いつもマリアのことを見てるの。だからマリアが困っていると、後できっと助けてくれるの。きっとね、姿を消してマリアの近くに隠れてるんだよ。
その笑いをやめなさいといつも言ってるでしょ。
Better not hit her, Rosa. Oh. Rosa reflexively hit Maria on the head. That put a stop to Maria's laughing, but it wasn't able to erase the color that had risen in those eyes, a color that seemed to bear a portent of misfortune. Rosa swore. She swore that at least until they left this island, she would not leave Maria alone. She couldn't allow that unknown being to make direct contact with her daughter any longer. Nope, dinner time. Nom 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 nom.
マリア、戻ってこねえな。またローザおばさんに叱られてるのかな。
Ever since they met Maria at the airport, she'd been romping around chatting about Halloween the whole time. But maybe she cut loose a little too much, acting a little too boisterous on the plane, on the boat, and during lunch, because Aunt Rosa had cautioned her several times. At times like that, Aunt Rosa tended not to scold her much in front of people. More often, she would take Maria aside and scold her alone. So since Maria had been called off somewhere, they figured she must have been getting scolded. When they looked at the clock, they realized it was almost 6. Of course, they couldn't imagine she'd be getting scolded at this time. Maybe it was time for some anime she watched every week to start. She probably hadn't left the mansion's parlor.
ひょっとすると、バトラ様がお目覚めになって、一緒に遊ばれているのかもしれませんね。
マリアちゃんにとって、バトラ君は新しい友達のような感じだったろうからね。そのバトラ君と飛行場でハロウィンごっこをするのがきっととても楽しかったんだよ。
バトラもずいぶんはしゃいでたな。あいつ、図体はでかくなったってのに、中身は昔っから全然変わらねえぜ。
そうですね。バトラ様は6年前のままでいてくださった気がします。
シャノンは6年前のバトラ君のこと覚えてるんだ。
ええ。何しろ、大層お元気な方でしたから。
僕も6年前に4人で遊んだことを思い出すよ。シャノンはだいぶお姉さん風だったね。
そうだな。今よりしっかりしてた気がするぜ。
それは、あの頃は身の程をわきまえておりませんでしたもので、いろいろと失礼いたしました。
いいよ、そんな礼儀云々は。仕事中はともかく、 こうして休み時間に過ごす時の僕らは、あの頃から変わらない。仲良しで居続けたいね。
そうだぜ。使用人のシャノンとオフの時の作用は使い分けていいだろう。奴隷じゃないんだぜ。使用人の仕事をしてるだけじゃないかよ。私はシャノンとは、サヨとは一番古い友人だと思ってるぜ。
ありがとうございます、お嬢様。
It seemed that Shannon understood the hidden meaning behind Jessica's words. After all, she'd heard a bit about Jessica and Cannon's history from both of them. Apparently, George had heard something of that history too. He walked towards the window and looked up at the darkening, raining sky.
カノン君はまだ幼いのに考え方が少し背伸びしてるところがあると思うんです。
いや、もうよしてくれよ。まあ私も雰囲気に流されてたところはあったと思うしさ。まあシャノンたちのことを見て、ちょっと羨ましいとか思って
Her face is so
気がせいて
red.
いたところもあったかもしれねえな。私のことなんかどうでもいいだろ。それよりジョージ兄さんたちの方はどういう感じなんだよ。だいぶいい感じなんだろう。
どうなんでしょ
う。とてもいい感じだよ。
Shannon was lost for words, her face red, while George answered brightly and immediately. That carefree attitude made it easy to see why their relationship was proceeding so perfectly and make anyone envious.
やけるぜ。ってことはシャノンもそのうち寿大社ってわけなんだ。
どうなんでしょう。私には
どうなんだろうね。僕にもわからないね。
George laughed teasingly as though pressing Shannon for an answer. It was probably the way they usually flirted when they were alone. Jessica could only smile bitterly and say, "Yes, yes, thank you, that's enough."
僕には夢がある。
I used to read Word Up magazine.
それは一国一城の主になりたいというビジネス的な野望だけじゃない。生涯を共にできる伴侶と幸せな家族を築きたいという夢もある。子供は最低でも2人欲しいとか、家族で一緒にできるスポーツをしたいねとか、他にもいろいろ。そんな話をよくシャノンとはするよ。こんなことを話すと、いつもシャノンには気が早いですねと笑われるんだけど、
I would agree, Shannon.
僕はこの年のうちからもうなぜか落ち着いた老後のことを考えてしまうんだよ。元気に成長した子供たちと駆け回る孫たちと、そういうものに囲まれて、いつまでもシャノンと二人ゆっくりと余生を送れたらなって。
そりゃ確かに気の早い話だぜ。でもなんていうのか、ジョージ兄さんらしい話だな。
そんな家族に囲まれたらさぞ素敵でしょうね。私が思い描いていた理想の家族もそんな感じだったと思います。
To Shannon, who'd been raised in an orphanage, that harmonious image of a family would probably be something to be yearned for. And George, who had made an absolute promise to grant that wish for her, may truly be a fitting person for her to spend her life with. To Jessica, Shannon was a precious friend. George was surely the most fit to entrust their friend's future to.
まあ水を差すわけじゃねえけど、秀吉おじさんはともかく、エヴァおばさんとかどうなわけ？説得は大変じゃないの？
そんなことは誰も気にする必要はないよ。僕が誰を伴侶に選ぶかは誰にもはばかられない。
Yeah, you tell him.
シャノンは僕が幸せにする。それに誰の許可が？
おお、ジョージ兄さんかっこいいぜ。よくそんな恥ずかしいセリフを堂々と。 昔の兄さんはそういうキャラじゃなかったと思ったんだけどな。
男子、3日合わざれば、刮目して待つべし、さ。僕だって成長する。シャノンを幸せにするために、僕はもっともっと勉強して、ふさわしい男に成長するつもりだよ。
Maybe even George realized how embarrassing the words coming out of his mouth were. His face turns very red, and he scratched his head.
ジョージさん。
大丈夫。母さんは確かにごねるかもしれないけど、僕に任せておけばいい。親族全員に、君が僕の伴侶だと認めさせてみせる。
すっげえな。シャノンが羨ましいぜ、まったく。
そこまで言ってもらえて、恐縮です。
っていうかよ、私はお邪魔虫なんじゃないかって気がしてきたぜ。席を外した方がいいか？
As Jessica rose with a forced smile from the bed she'd been sitting on, the phone rang. Before Jessica picked it up the receiver, wondering what it could be about, Shayna looked at the clock and jumped. Apparently she spent too much time on her break.
すみません。私、お勤めの時間を忘れておりました。これで失礼します。
At the same time Jessica picked up the phone, Shannon began dashing out of the room.
ああ、シャノン。また、いつもの時間に、いつもの場所で。
はい。失礼します。
Is that the time he claps the cheeks?
もしもし、ジェシカです。ああ、ゲンジさん。はい。シャノンは今そっちに戻ってますよ。私たちが引き止めちゃったんです。叱らないでやってください。ええ。はい。
そっか。もうじき夕飯の準備の時間なんだね。
Many plates were lined up on the counter in the kitchen. Preparations for dinner were proceeding steadily. The number of plates lined up there was 19. That was one more than should have been set up for the annual family conference.
納得できません。どうして私が直接お届けに上がってはならないのですか。
Goto-san flared up at Genji, paying no heed to the pot that was spitting steam. The master enjoyed eating alone in his study, so his food needed to be served in that room. However, that was something that always happened. Of course, Goto-san would want to set the table for the master with his own hands, since he put his heart and soul into his cooking. But the master had imposed a strict rule that none but the servants bearing the eagle crest enter his study. So while Goto-san would be able to greet the master from outside the study, not once had he been granted the honor of carrying his cooking inside. Goto-san was always irritated by this. Of course, he was a newcomer in terms of years of service. However, he had piled up plenty of experience from his previous jobs, and he was quite confident that he'd be able to perform in front of Kinzo in a manner that would do him no disservice. And yet, simply because he was not permitted to wear the golden eagle, he still hadn't been blessed with this honor. Can you imagine what damage that would do to his pride? You might think tonight was a repeat of that, but it wasn't. Because tonight, there was a person other than Master who wanted the food carried to their room. Apparently, this person is extremely rare and honored guest that we've been given strict orders to treat them as a family member, as a master, the family head. Goto-san must have wanted to earn some brownie points by serving his honored guest with his own hands. After all, he was an extremely vain person. If he wasn't qualified to serve the master, then at least a guest of the same rank. He simply couldn't find time during lunch, so Cannon had gone in his place. So he had truly desired to personally serve this person tonight's meal, the best dinner of the year. But Genji had to put a stop to that. Something about how Goto didn't wear that golden eagle. After being told once more he wasn't qualified, Goto-san lost his patience. Ah, so heart-wrenching, Goto-san. I cannot do anything more than watch like this in the shadows.
熊沢さん、油を売っている暇があったら食堂の準備をしてきてください。
He's such a dick.
テーブルクロスは大丈夫ですか。
これは失礼を。
When it became her turn to bear his wrath, Kumasawa slid out and into the hall.
ベアトリーチェ様は親方様と全く同格のお方です。ルールも親方様のそれと同じものを尊ばなくてはならない。ゴーダは自分の仕事に専念し、親族の皆さんのお相手をするように。
そのようなお客様相手に、源氏さんならともかくこんな子供を生かせていいのですか？もし何かの粗相があったら失礼に当たります。確かに彼らの年季は長いですが、しるべきところで修行をしたことがあるわけじゃない。正直に申し上げて、お客様に接する基礎ができていないのです。
Koda spoke bluntly, even though Shannon was standing right there in the kitchen. Shannon was the one whom Genji had ordered to carry dinner to Beatrice's room. By the ranking system among the servants permitted to wear the golden ingle, Shannon was certainly the second highest in rank. If the highest rank, Genji, went to set the table in Kinzo's room, then it fell to Shannon to set the table in Beatrice's room. Goda's pride was always horribly injured by this ranking system. At times like this, he'd speak out bluntly and rudely against Shannon and Cannon. Goda kept raising examples of each of Shannon's failures until now, making a ruckus about how she couldn't do this or was terrible at that. Shannon, who listened to this with her head hung in shame, heard Cannon's voice from behind her. Cannon had been leaning against the wall in the hallway near the kitchen entrance, a blind spot from the inside, and had been listening to all of this. He probably knew that if he entered the kitchen, sparks would fly his way.
言わせておきなよ。最低の男だ。
でも、接待の基礎の勉強になるし、合田さんはたくさん勉強してるから、とても参考に。
姉さんは優しいね。
Guy's a dude.
それより、貴賓室のお客様が、ベアトリーチェ様だというのは本当なの？
うん。昼食の配膳に行かされた時に会った。間違いなくあいつだったよ。
そう。お元気そうだった？
Cannon remembered that he and Shannon had different impressions of Beatrice. To Shannon, Beatrice was a cupid of love who had granted her magic to establish her relationship with George. Judging by the expression that rose to her face, it looked like she couldn't wait to inform Beatrice of how her relationship with George had progressed. However, Cannon already knew. The witch came here with a terrifying goal in mind. The nebulous witch that they had only been able to see in the past had now revived so fully that she could walk openly through the front door, and even have dinner carried to her. Once, when she vanished from in front of Cannon, the witch said something about her own power was still weak. So if that was the witch now, appearing so openly, did it mean she finally regained her former power? And she said something else too. She definitely said that she had sown the seeds of love, while fully aware that they would fail. And she said even more. She definitely said that the day had finally come, upon which the door of the Golden Land would be open.
シャノン、あいつは親方様と何かの怪しげな儀式をし、きっと想像もできない恐ろしいことをする。それには誰も抗えない。
何の話なの？
あいつはやってきたんだ。親方様が求めた黄金鏡の扉を開き、すべてを黄金鏡に戻すために。あいつは僕に確かにそう言った。
In the past, the two of them, as furniture working for Kinzo, had been told what opening the door to the Golden Land meant. To Shannon, so Shannon understood everything without asking a single question, and because of that, she felt deep despair. Something tore Cannon's heart as he looked at their expression twisted with grief.
そうだ。どうして今になって。
だから言ったんだ。僕らは家具だって。人間の真似事なんかして恋なんかするから、僕たちの役目の終わるこの日を素直に受け入れられない。
い この日が訪れることを。でも、いつまで経っても訪れなくて、私たちはいつまで家具として苦しめばいいのかわからなくて。だから私、思ったの。安息の日なんて永遠に訪れないんだって。
僕だってそう思ってたさ。でも必ずいつか訪れるって僕は信じてた。だから僕は家具としての自覚を忘れなかったんだ。なのに姉さんは忘れた。
私が。
Alright, Canon, chill out. I'm guessing this just means they die? I don't...
ああ、姉さんが悪い。姉さんさえ恋を覚えなかったら、僕たちはようやく訪れた今日を喜び合うはずだった。姉さんがくだらない未練を作ってしまったんだ。必ず去らなければならない世界なのに。
儀式は今夜始まるの？
うん。あと、あいつは僕に言った。今夜、ジョージ様は姉さんに婚約指輪を贈るだろうって。
That was a fact. George supposedly had an engagement ring hidden in his pocket today, and surely he would hand it over tonight.
あいつは、姉さんとジョージ様を第二の番の生贄に使うつもりで二人の仲をくっつけたんだ。わかる？姉さんはあいつにそそのかされた上、利用されたんだよ。
そうだったの。考えたこともなかったわ。
でもあいつは言ったよ。もし今夜、その婚約指輪を受け取らなかったなら、姉さんを生贄に選ばないと約束した。僕たちが揃って黄金鏡へ行ける確率はとても低いと思う。13人が生贄になる。生き残るのは5人だけ。その中に僕たち2人が入れる確率は本当に低い。でも、姉さんだけでもその約束が得られるなら、確率はもっと上がる。僕はかけたいんだ。黄金鏡には救いがある。僕たちはそこへたどり着き、人間を手に入れるんだ。そして姉さんと2人で、人間としての人生を歩みたいんだよ。そうすれば、本当の恋だって、できるかもしれない。
かつての私たちは、黄金鏡へ行けることを夢見てたね。そこへ行けば、どんな願いでも叶う。私たちを、この苦しみから救ってくれる。そう信じてた。
However, in this ceremony, only a few people would be invited to the Golden Land, chosen by fate and chance. Everyone else would lose their life as a sacrifice midway through the ceremony. However, in the past, Shannon and Cannon thought that whether they reached the Golden Land or were sacrificed, they would still be released from their duties as furniture. That meant this ceremony would definitely bring a release to furniture like them, no matter what happened.
僕は嫌だ。これまでの辛かった分を姉さんと取り戻したい。生贄なんてごめんだ。僕と姉さんは生き残る。そして二人で黄金鏡へたどり着く。
I'm gonna laugh if these fools are the first to die.
第二の番の生贄になんかさせない。頼むよ姉さん。あの男の指輪を受け取らないで。それを受け取らなければ、あいつは姉さんを生贄には選ばないと約束してくれた。
それは。
Of course.
できないよ。今夜の指輪は、とても特別なもの。それを受け取らないことは、私の心が許さない。
姉さん、儀式の生贄は魔女が気まぐれに決めることになってる。その魔女が姉さんだけは見逃すと約束してくれたんだよ。姉さんだけは絶対に黄金鏡へ行けるんだ。
私だけ？カノン君は？
僕は魔女のゲームで十分さ。あいつの魔女なんかかいくぐってやる。僕は無力じゃない。わずかの確率を無理やり掴み取ってやる。僕たちのせいなんて所詮は仮初めじゃないか。本当の人生を始めるために僕たちは黄金鏡へたどり着こう。そして人間を手に入れよう。
So I'm guessing the Golden Land is like a purgatory type thing?
そうしたらさ、僕も姉さんみたいに恋が知れるかな。もう家具だからって人を泣かせずに済むかな。
カノン君。
僕はもう家具は嫌だ。絶対に人間になってやる。こんな苦しみから、絶対に。
What's the over-under on that he dies in this loop? There were tears in Cannon's eyes. By now, Cannon had noticed. Shannon hadn't been the only one to know the suffering from the taste of love. He had too. The tears Jessica had shown him that day. And Jessica's pitiful face as she tried to smooth things over and stay bright ever since then had slowly wrought some kind of change on Cannon's heart without him knowing it.
シャノン、さっきから呼んでいる。
Shannon jumped at the sudden sound of Genji's voice. Apparently he had called for her repeatedly. She hurriedly answered. When she turned back, Cannon had disappeared. It seemed he didn't feel like showing his tears to anyone.
はい。ぼんやりしていてすみません。
昼食はカノンに頼んだが、本来は私の次の序列のお前が運ぶべきものだ。ベアトリーチェ様は当家の最高の賓客だ。それ以上の賓客はいない。もう一人の親方様と思い、丁重に頼む。
よろしいですか。くれぐれも粗相のないようにお願いしますよ。
It's gonna make her create a blunder.
経験の未熟なあなたに託すのは非常に心苦しいですが、当家のルールとあっては仕方ありません。くれぐれも頼みますよ。
I literally could have Beatrice kill that guy 5 times every loop and it wouldn't be enough. Goda had officially agreed, but glared at Shannon with an expression that told her he definitely wouldn't forgive any mistakes. Even Shannon felt that Goda might as well go himself if he was this desperate to go. But she considered this one of her responsibilities that she had been allowed to wear the golden eagle and had to give up. And anyway, I wanted to meet Beatrice. What will I talk about? What will I ask? I don't know. Will this be a meeting of gratitude or one of grief? Or else what? I don't know. Shannon piled the witch's food onto the serving cart and left the kitchen at a slow pace. The person knocking was Kraus.
お父さん、今日は年に一度の親族会議です。お父さんを一目見ようと兄弟が揃ったのではありませんか。
黙れ。出ぬと言っている。源氏、そこにいるのであろう。なぜ私の指示した通りに食事をここへ運ばせんのか。
He just screamed across the door. Genji was waiting behind Kraus.
お食事は書斎へ運べるよう準備しております。ただ、クラウス様が今夜はどうか下へ降りていただきたい
と。お父さん、毎日とは言いません。せめて今夜だけでも家族で揃ってはくれませんか。
誰が家族か。貴様はいつから生き倒れを待つハゲタカたちを家族と呼ぶようになったのか。
He's not wrong.
腐りて湧き出すウジ虫を家族と呼ぶようになったのか。
やれやれ。
Kraus shrugged at the answer, which he had half expected.
源氏、 言われた通りに食事をここへ運べ。なぜ言うことを聞かぬ。なぜ
源氏さん、後を頼みます。もうあの人に私の声は届かんね。
Krauss gave his head a small shake, then quickly turned his back to the door study. He had only come calling to save face in front of his siblings, knowing full well how useless it was. After Genji watched Krauss disappear down the stairs, he called again across the door.
親方様、お食事を運ぶ準備はできております。南條先生の分はいかがいたしますか。
Nanjo could be seen in the study, because Kinzo had forcefully pestered him into finishing their long-lasting chess game they had been playing against each other since the early morning. Nanjo had announced as the doctor that Kinzo's days were numbered, so he couldn't refuse if Kinzo demanded that they finish this game while he still lived. Kinzo was thinking deeply about his move, concentrating more than usual. It had been Kinzo's turn for quite some time, and Nanjo, who was tired of waiting, had randomly pulled out a book on magic that he couldn't understand and was skimming it.
金蔵さん、盤面を前に腕を組むだけではいい一手は出ませんぞ。一つ休憩をして頭をリフレッシュしてみるのもいいのではありませんかな。
黙れ。守りはこれで十分か。ビショップやナイトに隙間を突かれはしないか。
Today, Kinzo was focused on maintaining a strong defense. Normally, Kinzo's motto was that offense was the best defense. However, today was completely the opposite.
私も腹が減りました。ここいらで中断しませんか。それに休みなく頭を回転させておりましたから、もう頭がクラクラです。これ以上は私も最善手をさせるとは限りませんぞ。
それは困る。チェスは互いに常に最善手を指さねばならん。そうでない一手は理解に苦しみ、思考を読むゲームを狂わせてしまう。それでは今日を著しく削ぐというものだ。
Word. Kinzo sighed deeply and finally shifted his gaze away from the board. Chess isn't chess without an opponent. If that opponent is tired and wants to suspend the game, there is no getting around it.
確かにチェスの目的は勝利を目指すことで、互いにそのために最善手を指す。そしてそれを読み合う知的ゲームです。
Yeah, we understand what chess
で
is,
す
dude.
が、勝利以外にもう一つ目的があることを金蔵さんはお忘れではありませんかな。
なんだと？勝利以外にどんな目的があるというのか。
Friendship.
金蔵さんがそんなこともお忘れとは。チェスを通しですぞ。
参ったな。それは確かずいぶん昔に私がお前に言った言葉だったはず。
Bro, it was 2 hours ago.
これは参った。
Kinzo, who almost always wore a frown, relaxed his face for once and laughed. Nanjo felt like he'd been reunited with a close friend he hadn't seen in ages.
そういうことです。一本取られたついでにどうです？私と下に降りて食事と行きませんかな。
Hell no, bitch. 食
後にコーヒーと一緒にカスパロフの中盤についての議論でもいかがです？
良い提案だが遠慮する。私はもうこの部屋から出られない。儀式は始まっているのでな。
そうですか。では私はお腹もペコペコですからな。下へ降りることにします。気が向いたらいつでも。
南條、
ありがと
う。おや、何の礼ですかな？
Possibly dying for
う。お
my
前とのチェ
sacrifice.
スの決着はつかなかった。だが、私が忘れていたチェスの目的はどうやら果たせたらしい。それはどうもチェックメイトと同じくらい重要なものであったらしい。
らしくもない。何の干渉ですかな？
お前が言ったのではないか。私には余命がないと。もう行け。そしてもうこの部屋へ来るな。続きは黄金鏡であろ
う。いいですが、仕切り直しですぞ。ルークが落ちてしまったのは痛手ですのでな。それでは後ほど。
ああ、後ほどな。黄金鏡か煉獄か。
So there's a difference between the two? Huh, well.
あるいは次のよう
I'm
で。
curious about the Golden Land. Nanjo didn't say anything beyond that, and with emotion made smoothly by familiarity, he pushed the button on the table that would release the auto lock. Then, after looking at Kinzo's back one last time, he left the study. As he did, Genji's voice came from the hall.
それでは親方様、これより夕食をお運びいたします。
最後の晩餐になるやもしれぬ。味わわねばな。準備を頼む。
かしこまりました。親方様のご準備の方は万端となります。
Sorry, guys.
この部屋を今日まで問え旗への結界で厳重に包んだ。あれのルーレットが私を選ぼうとも必ずや弾き返す。そして生き残り黄金鏡へたどり着くうちの一人は絶対に私となる。私を冥府へ連れ去ろうとする死神どもの来訪をも拒もうぞ。
The Golden Land is almost like heaven, but I feel like you can go back.
失礼します。お食事の準備に参りました。
Shannon entered the VIP room, bowing her head and pushing the serving cart. The young woman by the window, gazing out into the supposedly empty darkness, was definitely that witch.
今度はシャノンか。懐かしいな。ほう、顔色がだいぶ良くなったではないか。カノンとは違うな。見違えたぞ。
ありがとうございます。
Shannon solemnly prepared dinner. There was actually several things she wanted to ask the witch, but they were all jumbled up and she didn't know where to start. Her heart was also jumbled up and she didn't even understand her own emotions, so she could only do her job dispassionately with everything else still vague. However, the witch saw what was in her heart. You can't hide anything from a witch.
謝らぬぞ。わらわは魔女だからな。
何がでしょう。
おや、カノンから聞かされたであろう。そなたの恋路を助けたのはわらわの単なるいたずら心。いかにしてこじれねじれ破綻するかを干渉するためにまいた種に過ぎぬと。
恋はするより聞く方が楽しい方もおられるでしょう。
まさかわらわに感謝しようというのではあるまいな。
はい。あなたが私にどんな下心があって恋の魔法を授けたとしても、あなたが私に与えてくれたものは変わらない。だから添い遂げられないと知りつつまいた種であったとしても、私は恨んだりしません。
ふん、やはり家具というのは面白みのない。 それを面白く調理するのがわらわの腕の見せ所よの。
私にベアトリーチェ様のお考えはわかりません。あなたは私たちなど足元にも及ばない大魔女で、その遠大な資料など想像するにも至りません。でも一つだけ言えることがある。
なんだ。
私に人間を教えてくれてありがとう。あなたが言った。私はもう家具じゃない。
黙れ家具。真の人間ならば婚約指輪を受け取ろうという日に告げられた死の宣告に嘆き狂いて踊り出すだろう。なのにそなたはなんだ。達観し全てを受け入れたような顔つきではないか。実に拍子抜けだぞ家具。
いいえ、私は家具じゃない。
黙れ家具。
黙りません。
Oh.
家具ではありませんから。
わらわの命令が聞けぬというか。
家具なら命令に従います。でも人間は命令に従うかどうかを自分で決めます。だから私はあなたの命令に従わない。
She might die right here. Although this is probably super entertaining to Beatrice.
前言を撤回する。やはり面白いぞ。種をまかねばそなたは何の感情も抱かず儀式に身を任せただろう。しかし今のそなたは実に面白く育ち、わらわを心底楽しませてくれるぞ。それでいい。わらわは退屈を愛さないのだから。
お夕食の準備が整いました。どうぞ。
うん、なかなかうまそうではないか。ゴーダが黄金鏡へたどり着くことがあれば、わらわの料理長に任
Oh
命
my
してや
god,
って
if
も
this
よか
guy
ろう。
makes it through, I'll be so annoyed.
カノン君に聞きました。私にジョージさんの婚約を断らせれば私を生贄にしないなんて約束をしたとか。
うん、したぞ。そなたは第二の晩にうってつけの生贄候補だったのだがな。カノンがそれを許せと泣いて叫ぶので寛大に聞き入れてやったのよ。そなたが婚約を破棄すればとの条件付きでな。わらわのなんと寛大なことよ。
なんてバカな条件。そしてなんてバカな脅迫。そんなものでカノン君をいじめ抜いたというの。
ほう、わかるのか。
Apparently Shannon had seen through it. She had apparently guessed how the witch had bullied and humiliated Canon with the horrible promises paid.
絨毯に這いつくばらせ、わらわの靴にキスをさせてやったぞ。それだけではない。他にどのような恥ずかしめを与えたか、聞きたいか。
Shannon silently shook her head.
あなたという人を私はようやく理解しました。あなたは人をいじめ、惑わせ、困らせて、それを楽しみ、糧にしている。
Yep.
だから、あなたに抵抗する唯一の方法が、これであると確信した。
なんだ。
あなたなんか知らない。
Oh.
私は、私に与えられた運命を全うする。だから、あなたを面白がらせたりしない。
あなたなんか、知らない。
The witch's features twisted in hatred for just an instant. It disappeared immediately, but the expression that briefly rose to her face was rare for the witch, whose malicious smile usually never faded for a second.
そういう抗い方もあるか。面白い。気に入った。殺してやる。お前の思い人と一緒にな。
それがあなたの決められた運命ならば、ご随意に私はそれに怯えたり逆らったりしません。これから起こる苛烈な運命があなたの意志によるものだなんて信じないから。私たち人間は未来に起こりうる運命など知らない。だからこそ最後の瞬間まで自分の信念と運命に従い精一杯生き抜く。運命はただのサイコロの目。そこに悪意なんて感じない。あなたが吹き込もうと信じない。
ほう、家具をやめたくせに死を恐れぬとはな。それがわらわを退屈させると思っているようだが、それは大きな誤解だぞ。そなたが本当に最後の瞬間までそれを貫けるか、ますます興味が湧いた。
私は悔しい。どうしてあなたは人の姿をして私たちの前に現れ、人の言葉で語り私たちを嘲笑うのか。私たちの前に現れず運命を予告しなかったなら、私たちは最後の一瞬まで精一杯生きられるのに。
それが魔女というものよ。貴様らの運命を食い物に、工事の存在として定時の存在の上に君臨する。そなたらの運命など、所詮はかけら。両手で椀を作ればいくらでも救える。わらわに飼われた肉牛どもが何をほざこうとも、わらわの食卓を楽しませる結果に変わりはせぬのに同じこと。
無力な私たちには、あなたの儀式にも運命にも抗うことなどできない。しかしあなたに、今すぐ不愉快な思いをさせることはできる。
ほう、それは何か。
今すぐここを立ち去ることです。あなたの言葉に答えることは、すべてあなたを楽しませている。あなたの問いかけに答えないことが、あなたへ唯一できる抵抗です。
Shannon is a lot smarter than people think.
なるほど、なるほど。一矢報いることはできよう。しかし、わらわを倒すことはできぬぞ。わらわは誰しもを永遠に殺す力を持っている。永遠に繰り返し殺される輪廻の中で、そなたがいつまでその抵抗をできるのか、忘れるなよ。自らが口にした言葉。
それでは、失礼いたします。ご用がありましたら、お呼びください。
Shannon gave a reserved bow and faced away. With that gesture, maybe she did take a shot back at the witch, just as Beatrice had said. Because when the witch called out again, she said in a little more quick temper than she had before.
カノンはわらわに感謝したぞ。そなたは感謝せぬのか。安息の日をわらわが与えることを。
家具なら安息の日を喜びましょう。ですが、私は人間ですので。だから、あなたに感謝することはありません。
Snap!
ご用はそれだけですか？
ジョージから指輪をもらうつもりであろう。受け取れば、わらわがカノンと交わした、そなたを生贄に選ばないという約束を破棄すること。忘れ。
まだご用があるなら、他のものを来させますので。それでは、失礼いたします。
A flat-out interruption. Shannon still hadn't answered her, and the sound of the door closing came instead of an answer. Shannon's resistance probably struck far more deeply into the witch than Shannon herself thought, because an expression of hatred once again rose to Beatrice's face. She had made Cannon submit, even though he hadn't been ensnared until the end. whereas Shannon, who had been easily ensnared before, refused to submit this time.
なんだ。やはりこれは面白いことではないか。わらわもまだまだ若いか。これだから1000年は生き飽きぬのよ。
Okay, I'm gonna stop here, guys. Yeah, pretty good episode again. I think that yeah, I'm actually like really impressed with Shannon. Actually resisting her Beatrice the way that she has. I did not really expect that. I thought she just seems very like meek and kind of weak in general. And yeah, I was really impressed with how she stood up to her, but falling in love kind of like changed her immensely, other than her becoming human. Yeah, she's just a whole other person. I feel like we are going to see something with pretty soon with Rosa. I have a feeling that she is going to we're going to find out that she's been possessed, and same with Maria. Both of them I'm pretty sure are possessed right now and have like spurts where the witch who possesses them kind of takes things over. And I think that's Burn. I think Burn's gonna come into play pretty soon. The more Battler gets involved right now. He's kind of sitting in the sidelines. Once shit starts getting real, I think Battler is gonna like kind of come and do some major work, and maybe Burn is gonna get involved with him that way. So yeah, this is getting really interesting. There's a lot of pieces, and then guys, we don't even have like most of the witches involved yet, so I can only imagine when they get involved how freaking crazy it's gonna be. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about the episode in the comments below.